You can't spell Maldives without dives, but how you choose to dive it will define your entire experience. We spent over 3 years working as dive professionals in 5-star Maldivian resorts and dived on several liveaboards. So we put together this essential guide to help you decide where to invest your hard-earned cash. And stay tuned for our wildcard option. It's a secret path to world-class diving at a fraction of the cost. The first thing people think about when they picture the Maldives is the resorts. Quality service, overwater villas and high-end dining. You'll stay on a private island entirely occupied by the resort and detached completely from the outside world. Let's begin with the pros. For many resorts, this starts the moment you step off the plane. Your transfer will be by their speedboat or a small commercial seaplane. Once on site, you get land-based luxury. And if your family or partner doesn't dive, they'll have a host of activities to keep them entertained while you're on the boat. As for the diving, you'll get access to the dive sites the Liveaboards visit that are within reach of the resort. But here's a pro secret. Most people think liveaboards are the only way to beat the crowds. But we found the opposite to be true when diving from resorts. We rarely had any other divers or boats on our dive sites because our schedule avoided the liveaboard crowds. Plus, you can also access sites that liveaboards rarely dive or even know about. Some of the best dives we ever did were at lesser known spots ignored by the liveaboards. As for diving logistics, trips from resorts are generally much quieter with fewer divers and at a more relaxed pace. With days usually starting at around 8:30 a.m, most people stick to 1 to 2 dives per day, and the flexibility to take days off to enjoy the on-land luxuries. In high-end resorts, you'll often end up with a private guide or instructor, just because there simply aren't that many divers most of the time. If you're looking to do a diving course in the Maldives, especially as a beginner, resorts are the best environment. You'll have access to a training pool, sheltered lagoons that are not exposed to strong currents, and house reef diving that is generally more relaxed. It's perfect for kids that want to get into scuba too, with relaxed environments and private instruction. Now for the downsides. Since you're in a fixed location, dive site access is limited by distance from the resort. You'll usually cover a maximum of around 45 minutes each way. Considering that the diving of the Maldives is spread over the entire country, lots of sites will simply be unreachable from a single resort. So, if diving is your focus, you'll need to research your location carefully if you have your heart set on particular sites. Price-wise, it's the most expensive option by far. We're talking an average of $400 to $1,500 per night for a single room, or as much as your budget allows. And the price of a dive can be from $100 to $200 depending on the resort. The bill can add up very quickly if you're doing daily dive trips and adding water sports and excursions into the mix. We've also found that in general, the dives can be a bit less action-packed, since there's less flexibility to time dives for the incoming currents. And because the dive group changes daily, and because of limited access, you may also find yourself repeating dive sites if you're doing multiple days. Although we personally don't see this as a problem, since every dive in the Maldives is different depending on the current. Then there's simply the fact that it's just not for everyone. It can feel restrictive to spend the entire time on a tiny island within a resort complex. And remember that everything you buy in the resort incurs a plus charge. As of 2026, that means 17% tax and 10% service charge. So if you're budgeting for your Maldives resort getaway, remember to factor that in. Next, we have the liveaboards. This is where you'll spend a whole week on a dedicated diving vessel. You'll eat, sleep, dive, repeat with a bunch of like-minded diverholics. They're the ultimate in diving convenience, as many liveaboards start from Malé. You'll walk straight off the plane and be transferred directly to your liveaboard within an hour or two. You may even do your check dive on the same day. Classic central itineraries can reach 3 to 4 atolls in a single trip, and deep south itineraries get you to vast, remote areas that are not as common to reach from resorts. You'll hit all the top sites along the way and time the dives for optimal currents, which shift through the seasons. The schedule is an early start, usually around 6 AM, with 3 to 4 dives per day, and plenty of time in between to recharge yourself and your camera. This includes potential night dives with nurse sharks and mantas in Ari and Vavu atolls. You'll even get the opportunity for night snorkeling with mantas and whale sharks, if the ocean gods are shining in your favour. Food on the Liveaboards is generally fantastic, and you'll normally get an unforgettable beach barbecue on one of the evenings during the trip. When it comes to diving logistics, you'll be allocated the same group and guide for the entire trip, usually matched for ability level and air consumption. And instead of a daily commute to and from a resort, you'll be touring from dive site to dive site, making the overall experience more fluid. The Liveaboard diving experience is unmatched. It's where you'll get to experience the most action and greatest variety, with the opportunity to dive deep channels, submerged pinnacles, wreck dives, fast drifts, and some of the world's best night dives. Liveaboard prices can range from around $1,500 to $4,000 for a 7-night itinerary. All your accommodation, food and dives are included in this, making it far better value than resort diving. You'll just need to factor in gear rental if you don't have your own. Plus, diving on nitrox is highly recommended, if not essential, and often not included in the base price. Now for the downsides. Firstly, spending a week on a boat means that you'll miss out on those overwater villas and that classic Maldives scenery everyone is after. As for the diving side, many people are shocked at the intensity of a Maldives liveaboard. Above land, it's serene, but underwater is a different story. For some people, it's too full on. The diving is demanding and not suited to beginners, even if some operators insist that you'll be fine. Understand that many dives will involve negative entries and strong currents. You need to be up for a challenge if you wish to experience the best of the action. Check out this video next if you haven't seen it yet. It's an essential guide to diving in currents for those that want to master the Maldivian channels and tilas. Another downside is that a liveaboard can be crowded. You may be travelling with 20 people on your trip, and lots of liveaboards operate around the Maldives on similar itineraries and timings. Although you may beat the resort crowds, you could end up getting swamped by other liveaboard groups, especially on premier sites. On board, space is naturally limited compared to a resort. As for sea conditions, inside the atolls it's generally calm. However, the crossings between atolls can be long and rough in certain seasons, even for the most sea-hardy individuals. So, if you end up wanting to skip a dive or two, you'll be missing out with no refunds. As an important side note, liveaboards often include the expectation of a rather sizable tip. It's not mandatory, but it often feels like it, and this can be a pet peeve for some. It's something you should always account for when going on any liveaboard. So, if you've come this far into the video, you might be thinking, it looks like a dream, but this is way out of my budget. Well, think again, because there is a wildcard option that lets you experience the best dive sites while bypassing the extortionate price tag. The local island experience means that rather than staying on a private resort island, you stay on a locally inhabited island. There are a few benefits to this. Firstly, it's your most budget-friendly option and unbeatable for cost. Rather than being restricted to a corporate resort that often lacks any real Maldivian culture, you'll get to immerse yourself in island life. Accommodation on these islands comes in a range of options, from budget homestays and guest houses to resorts and hotels. You're looking at an average of $100 to $200 per night, but rooms can be found for even cheaper. Plus, being on an inhabited island means you're free from the entrapment of a private resort. As for the diving, you'll be free to shop around and choose a dive centre that offers the experience you're after. Typically, dive trips with local dive centres cost around $50 to $80 per dive, not including rental gear. You'll get access to the same world-class deep channels and reefs within reach of the island at a fraction of the cost, whilst having the same dive schedule flexibility you get with a resort stay. And If you have more than one location in mind, there's also the freedom and flexibility to island hop at a reasonable price. As for the downsides, access to local islands from Male is via local speedboats or domestic flights. Don't expect comfort or glamour, the speedboats can be extremely crowded and bumpy. And if you're going further afield, such as Fuvahmulah, domestic flights can be pricey. Overall, you won't be getting the full 5-star Instagrammable experience of a private resort island. The accommodation is generally of a lower standard, you won't find as many overwater villa-style hotels, and it lacks that private feel. It's very much a DIY trip as opposed to a pampered one. You'll have to arrange all your diving, food and accommodation and transfers by yourself. This can add up and could end up being worse value than the resorts or liveaboards by the end of the trip. Also, be aware that local islands have strict religious laws and customs. It can be the ultimate deal breaker for some. This means no alcohol, although resort day trips are sometimes an option in certain locations. There are also strict dress codes on local beaches, which need to be respected. But some islands do have designated bikini beach areas for tourists. Also, be prepared for hearing the call to prayer from the mosque, as the islands are tiny. We'd highly suggest avoiding local islands during Ramadan, so check before you book. When it comes to food, local islands are generally lower quality than resorts and liveaboards, and you'll find fewer Western options, but this really depends on which island you visit. Being on a small, non-tourist centric island often means a lack of infrastructure. This can equate to poor cleanliness and lower hygiene standards, which are more akin to less developed nations than the high-end resorts. Overall, you'll need to expect a more rugged experience, which does not appeal to everyone. But for those that value authentic travel experiences, it can be the most rewarding. So, who wins the battle? Well, choose a resort if money is no object. You just want the ultimate in luxury, pampering and relaxation that only the Maldives can offer. If you're after a hybrid diving schedule that is flexible and far less demanding than a liveaboard. If you're travelling with family or have a non-diving partner, or if you wish to complete a diving course in a luxury environment with a private instructor on a quiet boat with near empty dive sites. The Liveaboard is best for diveaholics that are after a purely dive-centric experience, where all you want to do is eat, sleep, dive, repeat, and experience the very best sights all in a single trip. It'll offer you the most diverse diving styles and marine life, where you can enjoy action-packed channel dives and deep tillers that are teeming with life. The Liveaboard gives you the best bang for your buck and cost to dive ratio, but be aware that you might need a holiday afterwards. If you're on a budget, choose the local island, where you can experience the Maldives' world-class diving and unique scenery at a fraction of the cost, along with an authentic taste of local Maldivian island life you won't find at any resort. You can even island hop to experience dives in various locations or atolls. Personally, our favourite way to do it is the hybrid model. We love to spend a week of intense diving on a liveaboard, followed by a budget stay on a local island, with more flexible diving and time to unwind from that week of diving on the liveaboard. Let us know in the comments, are you a resort relaxer, a liveaboard legend, or an island hopper? If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your dive buddy and subscribe. Thanks for watching, we'll see you underwater.